So far away, Lucas. It's a strange new times for Fact Fiend because not only are we in my house, I'm editing this one.
Carl, I'm scared. There's not a green screen behind you.
There's not, but it's here in our hearts. Actually, I have the green screen as well. It's like the old one. I've got. Yes. I can get it. Fucking hell.
Well, there's literally one behind you.
Wait, what is there? Oh yeah, on that. Wait, what? Oh shit! I'm so nervous. My PC's on my floor. I've got that fucking Pokemon tech going on where people are roasting her for leaving a PS4 on the floor. It's fucking loud. PS4s are loud.
The jet engine taking off. Like, I can't imagine what it's like playing Ragnarok on that thing.
Oh, man, I played God of War Ragnarok, and I had to turn my TV up and put my PlayStation in a box. I put a box on the floor, put a pillow on top of the box, my PlayStation, it was fucking taking off. Anyway, playing Batman is a lot like walking on the moon, by which I mean about a dozen or so men have done it, but only 3 of them are people that we remember. Which I think is pretty accurate. It took me a long time to write that line.
Just Val Kilmer in my eyes.
Well, who's Batman to you?
Batman to me is like, I mean, to be fair, probably animated Batman. You know, rest in peace. And I think live action is still probably Nolan Batman.
Yeah, because he's just for better or worse, the Nolan trilogy defined what superhero movies were going to be going forward for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And for me, like, Kevin Conroy is Batman. And something I learned about Kevin Conroy that I was quite surprised about. It's like, I was reading his obituary. It's like he's survived by his husband. I didn't realise Kevin Conroy was gay.
No, I didn't either.
That's what I think a lot of people didn't. And I thought about it and went, hang on a second. We had a openly gay man playing Batman for 30 years and no one ever complained.
Because it's accurate to the character, I guess.
I guarantee you that if tomorrow DC announced that the person playing Batman is going to be an openly gay actor, like, you know, those people they would fucking riot.
If you're telling me that he didn't have like a love triangle going on between the Joker and Nightwing, you can have it off.
Well, here's the thing as well with Kevin Conroy, where I think he penned like a comic book about his experience, and he says in it, the experience of being gay informed my performance of Batman. Of like, you know, that role spoke to me of having to hide who you are in public, because he had to hide being gay for many years. Because he said he lost out on roles when people found out. And if you, like, again, I said, if you announce tomorrow that the person playing Batman going forward is an openly gay guy who's going to use that experience to inform his portrayal, there will be a million YouTube videos of men hissing about it on the internet.
I think it would be like the dichotomy of the, you know, angry straight white dude on YouTube yelling, and then the fanfic sites going absolutely ham.
I mean, that's the weird thing for me, is that we had that for 30 years. And I actually thought about this, and I came up with a pretty good explanation in my head for why no one ever complained about it. And it is because he was Batman before men on the internet could tell weirdos to be mad about it.
I guess so, because like the internet was still in its formative years when Kevin Conroy was cast as Batman.
And think about that. It's like whenever you see complaints about like media now from like those kind of people, they are always just verbatim quoting a YouTuber who informs their entire personality. They never, like Last Jedi and stuff like that. No one ever has like a legitimate criticism for it that they formatted in their own head.
Well, people were angry about She-Hulk the moment that She-Hulk got like a trailer. Like, it wasn't out and people were hissing at She-Hulk.
Yeah, and their criticisms are always things they heard other people say because they can't formulate their own opinions about it. And I think that's why Kevin Conroy being gay was never an issue. It's because he was Batman before weird men on the internet could tell you to be annoyed about that fact. And that's super. Anyway, so, although his tenure as the Dark Knight, we kind of went on a spiel. I've got to edit this as well, so if I go off on a spiel, it's my problem now.
It is, yeah, but like, you know, I just want to spend an extra minute giving Kevin Conroy his dues of like, you know, he did unfortunately pass away recently, and it's awful, but like, I just want to say like how fantastic he was as Batman and how much he gave back to the like fan community and how willing he was to embrace the fact that he was Batman as well.
That's the thing, yeah, and that's, to me, he is Batman. Like, there will never be another, like, you know, voice of a character who embodied the role as much as him. Like, to the point where, like, I think the only one who comes close, and it's weirdly, it's Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Yeah.
And there's a Fact Fiend article about the fact that Mark Hamill as the Joker, they go out of their way to keep making him the Joker, to the point where there's like a failed like Batwoman TV show they made years ago, where they have a Joker cameo, where they don't have Mark Hamill play the Joker, they have a guy wearing a mask or something like that, but then they have Mark Hamill dub that guy over.
Right. Okay,
and that's it, because he's so much, like, he's so identified with the character. That's what they had to do. It's like, well, this guy doesn't sound enough like Mark Hamill, so let's get Mark Hamill to voice him over. So what they did is they blur the scene out so you can't see that there's lips don't match what he's saying.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Batgirl.
And so I'm going to try and finish my intro now.
Let's go. 5 minutes in.
While his tenure as Batman hasn't been that long, I think it's safe to say that Robert Pattinson will, one day count among the pantheon of men who've embodied the Dark Knight. Something I say because pretty much everyone in Hollywood knew that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman, except for Robert Pattinson. So earlier in the video, Lucas, we mentioned weird men on the internet complaining about comic books as if that constitutes a personality. Did you see any of the backlash to Robert Pattinson's casting because he was like the Twilight guy?
Yeah, a lot of people were hanging on to the fact that it's like, oh, Cedric Diggory or like Edward from Twilight is like gonna be Batman. What the fuck? And it's like, have you ever watched anything Robert Pattinson actually gave a shit about when he's acting? Like, holy crap.
I was thinking, are you going to mention that? Because that's what I wrote in the article of, I feel that is such a tremendous self-own from people where they will criticize a casting choice based on one movie that they know, as if, and they always say it with such unearned confidence, as if they think everyone else is as stupid as them. It's like, he's the Twilight guy. It's like, wait to admit you don't watch movies, bro.
Yeah.
And Matt Reeves, the director of Batman and the writer, has said like as much in interviews where when he was asked about the backlash to Robert Pattinson's casting, like, yeah, a lot of people were saying he was like the Twilight guy, but I ignored them because I've watched other movies Robert's in and he's fucking fantastic. Like you said, of a movie where he actually cares, he's phenomenal.
He really is.
Not to mention that I think he's a fantastic Batman as well as a fantastic Bruce Wayne, because he's just a painfully weird introvert dork. And that is such a Batman thing, isn't it?
It secretly is, right? Because the life that Bruce Wayne lives, like, he should be this weird introvert that doesn't know how to interact with human beings anymore, rather than, like, this suave billionaire persona that Bruce Wayne is often seen as. It's like, he should be that recluse that doesn't have any interaction other than Alfred.
Yeah, and the closest we got to that is like the Nolan trilogy, isn't it? Where, like, they talk about Bruce Wayne like he's a fucking vampire. It's like, no one's seen Bruce Wayne in years, and you see him like hobbling around his mansion. It's like, fuck off, get out of my house.
Even before you became a recluse, you never came to these things.
Proceeds go to the big fat spread.
Yeah, because like in Dark Knight Rises, they embrace that a bit more of like him just being this weirdo recluse, but obviously in, Batman Begins, for example, when is it Batman Begins where he just walks in and buys the restaurant?
I do think that is a fucking baller move, though. When I like both portrayals. I like Playboy Bruce, and I like weird, brooding loner Bruce. Like, both things can be true simultaneously. And, I like, the animated Batman where he's, like, brooding Batman most of the time, but then you have, like, Batman of the Future. Where he's like, you have both there. You have Terry McGinnis, who's a more upbeat, like, charming, suave character. And then you have, like, billionaire, but like, fuck, in his bat cave with his coffee on the microphone.
And, fair play as well to the Frank Miller, like, Dark Knight Returns Batman of, like, just this old man that's fucking had enough. And it's like, yeah, there's so many ways to portray Batman and Bruce Wayne, but yeah, I did really enjoy Pattinson's take of just like, well, of course he doesn't know how to talk to anyone, he just stares at people.
That's like the one bit of his Twilight career that I think he used in Batman, of just like creepily staring at people. And I will say, because I've got to address it, because every time I mention Batman of the Future, I call it Batman Beyond, because that's what it was called over here. And speaking of, like, weird men correcting people, every time I mention that, you get Americans coming in as if they're the only people, like, as if America's the only place that exists. Like, it's called Batman of the Future. It's like, well, it's called Batman Beyond everywhere fucking else.
I've had a proper Mandela effect where I thought it was Batman of the Future over here, but I remembered it as Batman Beyond because that was what America's had.
I don't know which one's true, but every time we use the one that's not...
I'm quickly, because I need to know which one's true now, because I'm just like, my brain is being blown a little bit.
So we had that experience when I talked about the movie Welcome to the Jungle, and every other comment on that video is some smarmy American go, it's not called that, it's called The Rundown. It's like, yeah, in America. America's not the only place that exists.
So yeah, Batman Beyond in America, but Batman of the Future outside the United States.
I knew it was one other, and I know that every time I use the wrong one, Americans get annoyed because they can't fathom that there's media that exists outside of the bubble which they consume it in.
Admittedly, they win on that one because Batman Beyond does sound way fucking better.
And that's how you ended up with people criticising Pattinson's casting, and then Matt Reeves, the director, being like, well, why would I give a shit? I've seen the movies he's actually good in, and they're phenomenal. So you have to say, as well, how have comic fans not learned that they also did this with Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
They also criticised Heath Ledger, was like, who is the Brokeback Mountain guy? It's like, yeah, but he's also been in a bunch of other movies in which he's fucking phenomenal.
Well, he's really fucking good in Brokeback Mountain, and I guess that's
the thing, he's amazing in that.
Maybe that's just, obviously a more homophobic attitude coming into play rather than actual criticism, but a lot of people would be like, oh, he's the guy in that silly comedy night film, or in a bunch of rom-coms, and then he performs like he did, with the Joker, and it's like, oh, okay, let's shut up now.
What, you mean he's an actor who had range?
Silly, that, isn't it?
It's almost like you'd want someone like that to play a character as chaotic as the Joker. Same thing with Robert Pattinson. Oh, he's a weirdo. It's like, yeah, so's Batman. Would you happen to know the film specifically that Matt Reeves saw that inspired him to cast Robert Pattinson as Batman?
My film would be The Lighthouse.
Yeah, that's probably the most famous arty film he's been in, because that's the thing. Robert Pattinson's career has been indie banger after indie banger. And that's what people know him as. He's like that weirdo, and he's very selective of the projects that he picks. He's got fuck you money now. He doesn't have to be in movies that he doesn't want to be in because he's got Twilight money.
Yeah.
And there was The Lighthouse, which is a good movie, but the one that Matt Reeves saw him is one called Good Times.
I was like, wow, he's such an interesting actor, and I saw him in this movie called Good Time by the Safdie brothers when I was writing, and something about his performance in that movie made me think, oh, this is the guy. I have to write this for him.
And that movie is one in which he plays, I think he's a brother, and he's a criminal. And in that, Matt Reeves says he has this really understated intensity throughout the entire thing. And there's just this ferocity bubbling under the surface that's just so ever present in his performance. And he saw that and went, that's Batman. Also, as well, he's just for the look of Batman, he says that he has a very pronounced jaw.
If there's someone that you can identify from jawline alone, I know that they said they didn't want to cover his jawline with the cowl because it's so iconic, from Pattinson, but I'd identify Bruce Wayne across the fucking room as Batman with that jawline.
With that jaw, yeah. It's one of those little things where you have to take that into consideration of you have to have a strong jaw. It's like James Marsden. He has a really strong jawline, and it's that's how he got cast as Cyclops, because basically what they did is they supposedly behind the scenes had headshots of actors and just covered up their face, because he can't emote with his eyes, because his eyes are going to be covered in 99% of the film. So we need someone who has a very strong, emotive, bottom half of the face. Same thing with Peter Weller on RoboCop,
right? Yeah.
Where they said we had to put, we had to get an actor who had a strong, defined jawline, because that's all you're going to fucking see. And they cast his lips as well. They said Peter Weller has very full, luscious, kissable lips.
He does.
Much in the same way Batman does. When you're playing Arkham Knight, and it's Batman, why are your lips so fucking gorgeous?
Yeah. It's they're the only thing you get to see.
Exactly, yeah. And that's one of the other ways he got cast. And as I mentioned in the intro, everyone knew that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman except Robert Pattinson, because he didn't realise that Matt Reeves, one, wanted him to play Batman, and two, was his only choice to play the role. And it's reported in a few places where, those fact websites that don't do their research, those hissing comic book men, that Robert Pattinson didn't want to be in Batman. He's tired of doing big budget movies. He was actually secretly super on board, and according to him, he was Googling the casting decisions. In his free time. Yeah, he was secretly looking up, and he was asking his agent to keep track of it because he wanted to be Batman, but he didn't think he'd ever get cast because of his association with Twilight.
And when I saw on his IMDb that there was this kind of rumored Batman involvement. And it was the last thing I said in the meeting. I'm like, what's going on with the Batman? And he was just a little flicker of recognition. And I kind of thought, huh.
Can't imagine any actor sitting there going, I don't want to be Batman.
Yeah, imagine like an actor being like, I don't want to be Batman anymore, and then he's got Ben Affleck with his Dunkin' Donuts. Like,
but he did really want to be Batman at the start of the process.
He just didn't want to be Batman in that universe. And I have got like a running fan theory that I refuse to not accept, and it is, you know that picture during the pandemic of just Ben Affleck smoking a cigarette outside his house, like, fuck's sake. Mm-hmm. In my head, that's the day he got told he had to do reshoots in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I refuse to believe
he lost that absolute just muscular... he got really built for that Batman.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's, in my head, that is the day that he got told he had to do it. It's like, for fuck's sake. You can see it. And that's like, if you watch like the scenes he recorded extra, like the one where he literally crawls out of bed. It's so good. But I said that everyone knew that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman, and when Matt Reeves went in to talk to like Warner Bros. And they said, "Who's your casting?" Like, Robert Pattinson. They're like, "Is there anyone else?" Robert Pattinson. And they suggested a few other people. Like, "I want Robert Pattinson. I want Robert." Like, Robert's probably not going to do it. He's only doing indie movies now. I want Robert.
And like, fair play to Robert Pattinson as well. Like, I think he did physically fit the role by the time the movie came out. Like, I don't think he's definitely a more svelte Batman than, for example, Ben Affleck.
He's also a very bulletproof Batman as well. He's the most bulletproof Batman I've ever seen.
But he still looked like an intimidating character, and he does need to learn to dodge.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's the intimidation factor of that Batman is through the fucking roof. Of like, we've talked before. Again, it shows that thing that you can have both. Like, we talked, like, our favourite scene, I think, in the Nolan trilogy. We both talked about it before. Is the shipping yard.
The shipping containers, yeah.
It's just, that's what fighting Batman would be like. Of like, just you hear a noise, your mate's gone.
You never see him. All the lights are out, and then there's just screaming.
Yeah, and you go over and someone just knocked the fuck out. And you see a shape, and that's it. But also, I think, the flip side of that coin is Robert Pattinson's approach of just, I'm going to walk directly through gunfire like Darth fucking Vader.
Like, just
the same effect.
The first scene that you see him play Batman in, when he just walks up to this gang and, like, just stares them all down. Is like, what the fuck are you all going to do?
Yeah, and here's a fun fact about that scene. Do you know the bit where Robert Pattinson... Batman, just like, he delivers those last two punches to the guy who's already knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
That was Robert Pattinson's idea. And his explanation is so fucking terrifying. And it's one of those things where it makes you realize he fucking knew. He knows what this character's about, where he said, when they filmed that scene, he said, what I should do is I should throw a few extra punches on the guy before I say, I'm vengeance. And like that. Why? He went, because my Batman wants that guy, he wants that to be the last thing he hears as he slips out of consciousness, so it'll haunt him for the rest of his life. And it's like, that is such a Batman thing to do. And it's like, the end result of, like, the ninja stealth scene and beat the guy the fuck down in front of his mates, the end result's the same. People are fucking terrified of Batman, but they achieved it in a different way.
Yeah, and I do absolutely love that scene of just, like, the moment where you hear Batman walking and just the stomps coming down and, like, the echoes around and they don't know where he's coming from. And he just walks out of the shadows. It's like, the fuck are you gonna do?
It's like, as well, like, the Batmobile of that noise is like one of, like, just the
growl.
Like, it's like the only film I can remember in, like, recent memory that had, like, a build-up like that. It was like Godzilla. Doing like the one. That was like that when I saw it. Like, you just hear this, like, what the fuck is that? And it's the Batmobile. It's just a jet engine strapped to a muscle car. That's bulletproof.
And it design-wise, it's one of my least favourite Batmobiles because it is just a muscle car. However, it does fit in that universe, and I love the noise that it makes. Like, the absolute growl that it's got.
Yeah, and they said like they wanted the car to be a character, and I hate the Tumbler. I hate how he just uses repurposed military. One, because it looks stupid, and two, because how the fuck did no one know that it's Wayne Tech building it when it was a classified government product? How did no one from the government know that the classified tank design from Wayne Tech was running criminals over in Gotham?
Because they spray painted it black, Carl.
Anyway, as I mentioned, like everyone knew that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman. I've only mentioned one person so far. So do you know who else knew that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman? Christian Bale
previous
did.
Batman knew who the Batman was going to be, right?
Christian Bale did, oddly enough. Christian Bale, he had heard rumblings and he reached out to Robert to talk to him. He's, to advise him on his castings. He said, "Yeah, they there's a similar thing with Heath Ledger. Don't worry about it." And Robert Pattinson's like, "I don't read the news."
I don't think he touches media at all, but like, I think Robert Pattinson is literally like the recluse, like Bruce Wayne is in that movie.
Yeah, that's
now.
what I think. The cast. As soon as I saw that, that's an inspired casting choice. It's perfect for the role. Just this this fuckable, dorky weirdo that doesn't like going outside. Awesome, perfect. But the other person who knew was Christopher Nolan, and this is one of those times where, like, behind the scenes, Matt Reeves was shitting himself, and he was so mad when he heard that Robert Pattinson had been cast in Tenet. Is it Tenet? Tenet. I don't even remember the name of that movie. But that movie that Christopher Nolan made, Matt Reeves was really fucking pissed off. He's like, "Well, Robert doesn't do big movies, and that's a blockbuster. That's Christopher Nolan, and he worked on Batman. Why is he going to do my Batman movie when he's just made a huge big blockbuster with the Batman guy?" And he was just thinking, like, he was really annoyed. He was kicking himself. Like, we're going to have to get somebody else. He's not going to do, back-to-back blockbusters. Especially not after work. He's not going to work with me after he's worked with, like, the Batman. Like, the guy who defined what Batman is. Like, no, like, that's in Christopher Nolan defined what Batman is. And he was really annoyed. And he's like, well, we're going to have to ask him. And Robert Pattinson got the audition request and he was fucking hyped. But he was told, because this is Batman, you're not allowed to tell anyone what you're doing. So he, like, went up to Christopher Nolan and was, I've got a family emergency. And just Christopher Nolan reportedly looked him dead in the eye when you're going to do Batman, aren't you? because he knew exactly what he was on about, because he had to deal with that level of secrecy too. So the instant he saw him being all cagey with what he was up to, was like, "You're doing Batman, aren't you?" So Christopher Nolan also knew.
I love the idea though that, like, after he got casted, Christian Bale just, like, rings him up and it's like, "Look, Robert, when they say put on like 50 pounds, they don't mean a fat. That please don't become fat, man. Just learn from my mistake."
Did you see though all those interviews where they were talking about we can't find Robert, and it's like, why? It's like, we called him asking him to work out, and his personal trainer's like, "I don't know where he is," because he didn't want to work out. And I love that as well, because that's such a Batman thing to do. It's like no one knows where he is. And there's a funny story, like, behind the scenes, like when he tried the suit on, the literal first thing Robert Pattinson did is he did a backflip. Because he's a really in shape dude. And they asked, "Why are you doing that?" He went, "Just to see if I could."
Fair, yeah.
He also took a selfie in it as well, and they told him you got to delete that. He's like, "Nope." I'm not fucking, like, this movie might not get made or I might not get cast, and no one's going to believe that I wore this suit.
That's 100% like Andrew Garfield in the spider suit vibes.
Yeah. And reportedly as well, they made him wear the, I think it's the Val Kilmer suit, because they still have all that in storage.
Yeah.
What they did is, rather than, because they had not made the new suit yet, when they brought actors in, they made them wear the old ones they had in storage, and the only one that fit in was the Val Kilmer one.
Read for the movie, you were wearing a bat suit, like one of the real ones from, like, Val Kilmer, or?
You try on every single one.
You did?
See which one. And every single one still has the actor's kind of sweat inside.
Where are these bat suits?
I'm just wondering,
the most iconic.
Would he have been cast if he was wearing, like, the bat nipples one?
Oh god, like the special Mr. Freeze, like, black and silver bat nips.
Oh man, it's like they do that a lot though. It's like with Superman, when Brandon Routh came in to like audition for Superman, they made him wear the Christopher Reeve suit.
Oh
and
wow!
They said the same thing happened with Henry Cavill, and that's how they got cast, because they said with Henry Cavill specifically, when he wore the Christopher Reeve suit with the big trunks and stuff, people thought they were going to laugh, and when he walked in wearing it and no one laughed, they all went, "That's Superman." That's how he got cast.
I'm going to look really bad in this.
You do not. Look, here, we've got a picture of you in Christopher Reeve's suit. You look great.
It looks like, I mean, can I swear?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like shit.
I just love the idea that before you're allowed to, you've got to wear the original. That must be so terrifying.
You've got to, like, apparently wear the most embarrassing of all of them.
Like, to literally step into the shoes, like, we're like, of this character. Like, imagine, Christopher Reeves. So it's like the thing with animated Batman. Who the fuck is going to, follow Kevin Conroy?
Yeah.
Like, how nervous are they going to be in that audition?
That's one thing for, like, a voice actor, but I guess that, it does make sense because these are comic book characters. If they don't fit that perfect looking silhouette of a character, like, that's what the design is, what the comic book character is.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with, the Joker. And it's like, oh man, who's going to have the balls to try and tackle it? And it's only the ego of Jared Leto. I think he's the only actor who would have taken that role because he's the only one with the ego enough of, like, I can top that literal award-winning, character-defining performance by doing my own thing, and it's fucking terrible.
You say that. There was also multiple other Jokers, including, like, Cal Kestis was the Joker in Gotham or something. And it's like, there's been a few since Ledger, and they're all, like, unnotable enough to just forget.
Well, I think, like, the Joker in the Telltale Batman series is pretty good because the twist that they have is that the Joker is a Batman fanboy who becomes a vigilante, and then Batman has to say, don't kill. And Joker's like, but why not?
Oh, it's The Incredibles then.
Yeah. And he's really good in that. Like, the voice actor's pretty good. Like, they nail it.
I think that's Troy Baker in that, isn't it?
It might be. I don't know. Well, do you know what? We'll have to do a double check on that one.
Sean. It's Joker!
Thank you to everyone listening. This is the first fact theme video that I'm going to edit and record. It's the first one I've recorded in this new, more laid-back style. I'm hoping it's we're going to keep fact themes, the way it is, or the way it always has been, just talking fun facts with friends. But the editing style, you're going to notice, is going to be a lot more streamlined, which is my way of saying lazy. Because I'm the one editing now, so, just going to keep it simple, back to basics, funny clips, interesting facts, cool conversations, and also lots of plugs for the shit that I do. So yeah, I'm wearing merch. We do merch. You can go check that out as well. Anything you'd like to plug, Lucas?
Yeah, just, I guess I can plug my Twitch where you can go and find me. I am a variety streamer over there at twitch.tv/legendofcanto.
And if you do want to see the green screen again, we will be recording some. That's the thing, we're going to be recording these videos when and where we can. So there will be videos with green screens, there'll be videos in my home office. But hopefully, the thing that drew people to this channel in the first place, the content and the conversations, will stay exactly the same. Cheers, everyone.